right, good morning, guys. We're going to be talking about signs and symptoms of overtraining, but specifically from aerobic exercise, as last week's topic was anaerobic exercise. Overtraining, what is overtraining? The imbalance between work or training loads and recovery. Generally speaking, overtraining, you're working too much, training too much, not enough recovery. Um, a- Overtraining can take the form of either functional overreaching or non-functional overreaching, with which both will result in decreased performance. However, functional reaching is overtraining by design, most likely prior to an extended plan of rest, prior to the off season. There's a lot of examples. Let's say you're having your big game on Saturday, so the Monday before that, you just really put in the work, a lot of soreness, take the rest of the week off, and then you have that big performance on Saturday, Sunday potentially. Um, Non-functional overreaching is overtraining that requires up to a month of rest, and this isn't planned. This is genuinely the athlete is just not resting enough or training too much. Continued non-functional overtraining can lead to overtraining syndrome, and this is where we start to see issues occur. And of course, overtraining leads to decreased performance. What's happening with our cardiovascular system when we're in overtraining from aerobic exercise? Our resting heart rate is usually impacted. It's usually higher with individuals who are overtraining. Heart rate variability, HRV, will decrease with overtraining syndrome, and this indicates that there's reduced parasympathetic stimulation, right? These athletes are in that fight or flight freeze, that sympathetic nervous system all the time, as you know a lot of athletes are high stress. You're just not relaxing enough, excuse me. Exercise induced maximum heart rate is also reduced from overtraining, so you're able to exert yourself less. Increased resting diastolic blood pressure. There's not a huge change with blood pressure, but the diastolic will rise, which again, over a long period of time, this can create some issues. Biomechanical responses to overtraining, increased levels of creatine kinase in the blood, right? The muscles are just not recovering. This indicates that there's higher levels of muscle damage in individuals with overtraining. Again, not getting the chance to catch up and recover. Decreased muscle glycogen is common with overtraining. This may contribute to the decreased performance and decreased lactate responses that we see within overtrained athletes. Lactate, blood lipids, and lipoproteins are relatively unaffected. So the big talking point here is that the muscles are just not recovered. They are high incidence of muscle damage and low energy, low muscle glycogen, so they're not able to perform as well. Endocrine responses, this is where we have a little bit more detail in response to overtraining. Concentrations of free testosterone decrease in response to overtraining as overtraining decreases total testosterone. Again, the specific mechanism isn't really understood just quite yet. The potential measurement for overtraining is the testosterone to cortisol ratio, as this ratio gets worse with overtraining. So testosterone is decreased, cortisol, your stress hormone, is increased, and getting past 30% of a ratio is, we're in a bad spot. Decreased secretion from the pituitary gland occurs from overtraining. The overall endocrine response to overtraining is heavily regulated by hypothalamic function, the hypothalamus specifically. This can help us to understand decreases in performance. However, it is not always one size fits all. Generally speaking, we understand what mechanistically is happening with overtraining in the body, but again, every person's situation will be different. Of course, overtraining can result in decreased basal rates of catecholamines like epinephrine and norepinephrine. Overtraining also leads to a decrease in dopamine at rest and post-exercise. So not only, right, that motivation aspect is these athletes are less motivated pre and post exercise. They're less motivated to train. They're not having as much fun as they might have been. And the feeling that you get after working out, that feel good feeling, you get less of it as overtraining, rampants up. It should be noted that if athletes are at the level in which overtraining leads to hormonal and catecholamine changes, we're at a severe point and immediate action, rest, not action per se, is required, especially when we're starting to get, a little wonky with some of these chemicals or compounds in the blood. Strategies to prevent overtraining syndrome. The main problem with overtraining comes from inadequate recovery, sleep, nutrition, interpersonal challenges, environment, and many other factors impact overtraining. Stress, again, coaches play a major role in mediating overtraining through observation of performance practices, training sessions, personalities. Coaches can tell when their athlete is not feeling well or, hey, something's up. What's going on with this guy today? Again, it's a coach's role primarily as that first mediator for overtraining before referring out to a nutritionist, sports psychologist, etc. Again, coaches can start that education on proper sleep, recovery, nutrition, and even incorporate mandated rest recovery sessions like stretching, yoga, team dinners, team, swims, whatnot, as far as recovery is concerned.